In Jurassic World Rebirth, a desperate team risks everything to extract DNA from three apex dinosaurs: the colossal Titanosaurus, the aerial terror Quetzalcoatlus, and the oceanic nightmare Mosasaurus. Together, they ruled a three-tiered kingdom: land, sky, and sea, where no corner of the planet offered safety. This wasn't some fantasy realm. This was Earth, 66 million years ago, during the final chapter of the Cretaceous period. Let's step back into that ancient world and meet the three kings who carved up the planet with ruthless efficiency. Picture this: you're walking through what would one day become Argentina, and the ground beneath your feet starts to vibrate. Not earthquake tremors, something rhythmic, deliberate. Each pulse grows stronger until you realize what's happening. Something impossibly massive is walking toward you. In Jurassic World Rebirth, characters Zora Bennett and Henry Loomis experience that exact moment of awe and terror when they first spot Titanosaurus in an open field. The scene captures the spine-tingling realization perfectly, showcasing just how impossibly massive these creatures were, and reminiscent of that first breathtaking encounter in the original Jurassic Park. At 30 meters or 100 feet long and weighing up to 80 tons, Titanosaur wasn't just a big dinosaur. It was a living mountain that happened to walk around and eat plants. The film shows us something crucial in that field encounter. These animals barely acknowledge human presence. Not because they're docile, but because nothing in their natural experience conditioned them to view anything our size as a threat. Consider the physics of this indifference. Each footstep created a crater roughly 3 feet across and 18 inches deep. A single step generated enough force to crush a car. A herd trample of that magnitude would leave anyone with zero chance of escape. When you're the size of a blue whale but living on land, there's no need to fight for territory. You simply exist, and everything else adapts around you or dies. When a herd of these titans moved across the landscape, they literally reshaped the terrain, creating what paleontologists now call dinosaur highways. Permanent pathways carved into ancient bedrock by millions of years of colossal footsteps. Their necks alone stretch 12 meters or 40 feet into the air, giving them access to vegetation no other creature could reach, effectively creating their own private food source suspended in the canopy. While smaller dinosaurs competed for ground-level plants, they simply lifted their heads and dined above the fray. Titanosaurus possessed a tail that functioned as a 60-foot biological whip. Paleontologists estimate that when swung at full force, the tip could break the sound barrier, creating a crack like thunder that could be heard for miles. One defensive tail swing could shatter the leg bones of any predator foolish enough to test them. The movie gives us glimpses of this reality when it shows the mating behavior of these colossal creatures. What might look like gentle courtship to casual viewers reveals something more profound: the incredible control these animals possessed over their devastating power. When 100-foot-long titans engage in reproductive rituals, every movement must be precisely calibrated. One careless gesture could be fatal to their partner. This level of control hints at their true nature. Their herd behavior amplified defensive capabilities exponentially. A group of adult Titanosaurus could form a protective circle around their young, creating an impenetrable wall of living armor. Any predator attempting to breach this formation would face not one 80-ton defender, but potentially dozens, each capable of delivering bone-crushing counterattacks. What the field scenes in Rebirth don't show, but paleontologists have uncovered, is just how terrifyingly intelligent they were. Recent evidence points to advanced strategic behavior. Fossilized trackways reveal coordinated herd movement that goes far beyond instinct. Adults weren't just reacting, they were positioning themselves based on terrain, threat level, and group dynamics. These weren't mindless beasts, they were calculating, adaptable, and deliberate in how they moved. This intelligence extended to their feeding patterns as well. Rather than stripping an area bare like modern elephants, Titanosaurus herds practiced what can only be described as prehistoric agriculture. They would graze selectively, actually promoting the growth of their preferred plant species while suppressing others. Over millions of years, they essentially terraformed entire continents to suit their dietary needs. A single adult Titanosaurus consumed roughly 880 pounds of vegetation daily. That's the equivalent of what an average human eats in an entire year, devoured in just one day. A modest herd of 50 individuals would strip 44,000 pounds of plant matter every 24 hours, enough to feed a small town's entire weekly produce supply. They were living bulldozers that could deforest thousands of square miles over the course of a migration. Which brings us to the most chilling aspect of Titanosaurus dominance. Their migrations were unstoppable forces of nature. When drought or seasonal changes prompted a herd to move, nothing could stand in their way. The calm, pastoral scene you see here is just a snapshot, a single breath between storms. Because when these herds decided to relocate, they became geological events with legs. Rivers were forded regardless of depth. Mountain passes were carved wider by sheer persistence. Dense forests became open grasslands simply because the herd needed to pass through. Other dinosaurs didn't fight Titanosaurus for territory. They adapted entire behavioral patterns around predicting and avoiding their movements. Some species developed nomadic lifestyles, constantly staying ahead of the advancing herds. Others learned to follow in their wake, feeding on the disrupted insects and small animals left behind in the devastation. If Titanosaurus ruled the land through overwhelming presence, Quetzalcoatlus dominated the skies through something far more terrifying: precision hunting from impossible heights. Picture a creature with the wingspan of a small airplane, 10 meters or 35 feet from tip to tip, soaring silently 15,000 feet above the Cretaceous landscape. Now imagine that this flying giant possessed the hunting instincts of a great white shark and the intelligence of a modern bird of prey. You're beginning to understand why nothing was safe when Quetzalcoatlus owned the air. In Jurassic World Rebirth, the most heart-stopping sequence involves the team rappelling down a cliff face to reach an ancient temple where Quetzalcoatlus has nested. The scene captures something crucial about these aerial predators. They strategically chose locations that gave them absolute territorial advantage. That temple was a fortress in the sky, positioned to survey vast hunting grounds while remaining virtually inaccessible to ground-based threats. Quetzalcoatlus possessed a skull over 2.4 meters or 8 feet long, filled with razor-sharp teeth designed for one purpose: grabbing prey and swallowing it whole. But here's what made them truly nightmarish. They didn't need to land to hunt. Their necks stretched nearly 3 meters or 10 feet, allowing them to pluck victims from the ground while remaining airborne. Imagine a giraffe-length neck attached to a flying predator capable of dive bombing at 80 miles per hour. The temple scene in Rebirth hints at their nesting behavior, but the reality was even more strategic. Quetzalcoatlus colonies chose elevated positions that provided 3 key advantages: panoramic hunting views, protection from ground predators, and wind currents perfect for effortless takeoffs. They were aerial engineers, selecting real estate that maximized their hunting efficiency while minimizing energy expenditure. During hunts, Quetzalcoatlus could stay airborne for up to 10 days straight, silently riding thermal currents while tracking prey across vast distances. It wasn't just persistence, it was strategy. Every movement was calculated, every descent deliberate, and when they finally attacked, it was with surgical precision. The impact force of a 550-pound Quetzalcoatlus hitting at full speed could kill prey instantly, even before the teeth made contact. As a result, smaller pterosaurs lived in constant fear of Quetzalcoatlus attacks. Many species shifted their habits to fly only at night or in dense cloud cover, doing whatever they could to avoid detection by these apex aerial predators. And unlike the solitary giants we see in most movies, fossil trackway evidence suggests Quetzalcoatlus occasionally hunted in coordinated groups, Picture multiple 35-foot wingspan predators working together, one driving prey into the open, while others positioned themselves for coordinated strikes. If you thought the land and sky were dangerous, the late Cretaceous oceans were an entirely different level of nightmare. Here, in the murky depths, lurked something that made great white sharks look like minnows. Mosasaurus, a marine reptile so perfectly adapted for aquatic murder that it turned every ocean into a hunting preserve. Imagine a crocodile stretched to 18 meters or 60 feet in length, equipped with flippers instead of legs, and powered by a tail that could propel it through water at 30 miles per hour. Now give it jaws capable of crushing a car and the hunting intelligence of a modern orca. You're still not quite grasping the reality of what Mosasaurus represented. The challenge facing the Rebirth team in extracting Mosasaurus DNA isn't just accessing a marine environment, it's approaching a predator that owned every cubic inch of late Cretaceous seawater. These weren't animals that lived in the ocean, they were the ocean as far as every other creature was concerned. Mosasaurus measured up to 60 feet from snout to tail, making it longer than a sperm whale, but built like a reptilian torpedo designed specifically for pursuit and destruction. Their skulls alone measured 1.8 meters or 6 feet in length, housing jaws that could exert a bite force of 40,000 pounds per square inch, enough to crush the skull of any other marine animal in a single chomp. But raw power was only part of their dominant strategy. Mosasaurus possessed something that made them uniquely terrifying among marine predators: 4 powerful flippers that allowed unprecedented maneuverability. While sharks rely on their entire body for steering, Mosasaurus could execute sharp turns, sudden stops, and lightning-fast directional changes that made them nearly impossible to escape once they began pursuit. Their hunting strategy combined the stealth approach of modern sharks with the intelligence and coordination of marine mammals. Fossil evidence suggests they were ambush predators capable of remaining motionless near the seafloor for hours, waiting for prey to venture within striking range. When they attacked, their initial burst of speed could reach 35 miles per hour, faster than any other marine animal of their era could escape. The late Cretaceous seas were already filled with massive predators: giant marine crocodiles, enormous sharks, and other competing mosasaurs. Yet Mosasaurus didn't just survive in this environment, they systematically eliminated their competition. Bite marks on fossilized remains of other large marine reptiles show clear evidence of Mosasaurus predation, suggesting they actively hunted and killed other apex predators. Even more disturbing was their feeding behavior. Unlike modern sharks that tend to bite and retreat, Mosasaurus was a persistent predator. Once they locked onto prey, they would pursue it relentlessly, using their superior intelligence to anticipate escape routes and cut off retreat paths. Prey animals had nowhere to run. The ocean offered no hiding places from a predator that could dive deeper, swim faster, and think more strategically than anything else in the water. Their social behavior added another layer to their dominance. While many marine reptiles were solitary hunters, fossil evidence suggests some Mosasaurus species engaged in coordinated group hunting, similar to modern killer whales. The implications of their hunting success are written in the fossil record. During the late Cretaceous, Mosasaurus populations expanded rapidly across global oceans, while other marine predator species disappeared or retreated to marginal habitats. They had effectively conquered every major sea and ocean on the planet. When Mosasaurus ruled the oceans, there was no such thing as safe water. Shallow coastal areas, deep ocean trenches, warm tropical seas, cooler polar waters, everywhere offered the same threat level. These predators had turned the entire ocean into their personal hunting ground. For 66 million years, nothing has challenged their record of marine dominance. The great white shark, often called the ocean's apex predator, would have been nothing more than a quick snack to a creature that considered 30-foot marine crocodiles to be appropriately sized prey. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can a video about the king of dinosaurs be complete without T-Rex? And while Tyrannosaurus Rex only appears briefly in Jurassic World Rebirth, lurking half asleep before launching into a heart-pounding chase, it still manages to steal the scene. Its presence in the real world looms over every other apex predator like a legend carved into the bedrock of time. And that's exactly why we're breaking our own rule. Unlike the other three, T-Rex didn't rule by scale alone. At 12 meters or 40 feet long, and nearly 6 meters or 20 feet tall, it was smaller than Titanosaurus, less mobile than Quetzalcoatlus, and certainly less aquatic than Mosasaurus. But where T-Rex shined was in its terrifying specialization. It was the apex predator of a predator-filled world, a land-dwelling terror equipped with bone-crushing jaws that could exert up to 12,800 pounds per square inch, enough to pulverize the bones of armored herbivores and rival predators alike. Tyrannosaurus Rex and Titanosaurus occupied entirely different continents, but their ecological roles mirrored each other. Titanosaurus ruled through immensity, herds of 80-ton giants reshaping terrain by sheer movement. In South America, they were untouchable due to size. In North America, T-Rex filled the vacuum with power and precision. Though much smaller, it hunted with a bite force of over 12,000 psi, enough to crush bone, and targeted prey like Alamosaurus, a relative of Titanosaurus. It didn't need to be the size of a mountain, it only needed to be lethal enough to bring one down in pieces. Where Titanosaurus ignored everything beneath its notice, T-Rex made sure nothing beneath its notice survived. Unlike Quetzalcoatlus, T-Rex had no command of the skies, but they operated at the edges of each other's domains. Quetzalcoatlus ruled from above, striking with long-range attacks on smaller dinosaurs and juveniles. Grounded, however, it was vulnerable. A nesting or resting Quetzalcoatlus, wings folded and exposed, would have been an ideal target for a stalking T-Rex. While they targeted different prey, both operated as apexes in layered systems, one from the air, one from the forest floor. Where their territories overlapped, tension was inevitable. Mosasaurus and T-Rex had no business in each other's realms, but the coasts blurred those boundaries. T-Rex dominated the land, Mosasaurus the water, but estuaries, river mouths, and tidal zones acted as contested ground. A thirsty or scavenging T-Rex approaching the shoreline risked an ambush from below. Meanwhile, Mosasaurus may have claimed carcasses left behind by terrestrial kills. Each predator respected the limits of its medium, but the shoreline became a silent war zone, unpredictable, unforgiving. T-Rex didn't need a wingspan or oceanic reach, just 2 legs, a mouthful of serrated teeth, and a skull built to crush bone. In the late Cretaceous of North America, it didn't just survive, it dominated. But who truly ruled the dinosaur world? T-Rex, Titanosaurus, Quetzalcoatlus, or Mosasaurus? Or is there another contender on your mind? Drop your answer in the comments and tell us why. Click here to watch our deep dive into the greatest prehistoric predators of all time and see where T-Rex really ranks among the giants. This is RoaringEcho. Thank you for watching.